Cool. So you're a time-poor designer, an overworked developer, or let's say a marketing professional or / entrepreneur who hasn't slept in weeks because you're trying to get your website designed and developed and out the door as quickly as possible. Now, this is typically a laborious task requiring lots of different people, back and forth, duplication of effort. So you either designing in one software, then to basically redesign it and redo it in another, which quite frankly is a bit dumb. Now, this is no longer an issue because Webflow, which is an awesome page builder, link is below. Basically what they've just done is they've launched a new plugin for Figma, which allows you to design your website and pretty much develop it within Figma, which is a fantastic design tool, and then copy and paste that into Webflow and go from there. Although it's not a perfect process yet, it does do a hell of a lot of heavy lifting and can get you from design to build a lot quicker. So it is really going to change the way you work. However, one limitation of page builders in general is that they limit you to the platform that they're designed for. So for instance, Elementor is WordPress and Webflow is, well, Webflow. What happens if you want to design a Shopify store or you want to go to Jamstack or to Ghost? You're kind of stuck. But if we combine this tool set with Udesly, which basically converts Webflow built websites over into one of these different platforms, then you get a lot more creative freedom and a lot more ability to use features and functionality that the other platforms may or may not have or may not do it in a specific way. So if you wanted to do like really hardcore website and you needed some pretty extensive plugins, then WordPress may be your friend because it's got so many plugins. But if you're looking for something that's laser focused, excellent e-commerce solution, then Shopify is going to be your best bet. So this particular pipeline or process that I'm going to be showing you now is pretty much having your cake and eat it in terms of the web development. We can go straight from our design program straight into Webflow, publish it if that's where you finished, or push it out to one of the platforms of our choice, all without writing a single line of code, which is nuts. Okay, so this video, what we're going to do is we're just going to go Midjourney to quickly spit out an idea for our website. We're going to take that and build it in Figma. We're going to then export that or copy and paste it into Webflow. And then we're going to hit a magic little button a few times to export it out into the platform of our choice. And for this particular one, we're going to do a WordPress site. Okay, so keep going and let's go. Okay, so here we are in Midjourney. If you haven't used Midjourney before, it's an AI image tool. If you haven't heard of it, you've probably been living under a rock. But basically, it allows us to quickly create some designs for our website and get that process out the way, and we can flesh it out and design it further in Figma. So all you're needing to do is just go imagine and pop in your prompt, hit enter, and it'll start generating your particular image. Now, I've already done this and chosen one, which is this one, just to save a bit of time. So what we'll do is we'll just save this image down, call it whatever you want, hit save, and you're good to go. Now what we'll do is we'll just jump over into Figma, and you can see here I've dropped the image in here so I can pick colors and just have it as a rough guide. Now what we want to do is basically just get this particular image and the assets all prepared. So what I've done is I've just opened up Affinity Photo and I've cut the image out just using their particular tool set, and I've just export. So pretty straightforward. Now we're going to move over to Figma, but there's a few things we need to do. First things first is we have to install the plugin. You can either go to this particular URL, which I'll have below, and you can say try it out, and you can go from there. Or we can go into Figma desktop app. We can go down to find more plugins, and then you can just type in Figma to Webflow. I've already installed it, so it's there. So I'll just hit run, and there we go. Job done. Pretty simple. Okay, so now the next thing is you want to click through these particular things, and it's going to ask you to connect an account. So what we need now is we either need a workspace setup or we need to have a project setup. So over into Webflow, and I've already created a project. And what we're going to do is just going to add any fonts that we want to use, because otherwise what's going to happen is once you copy and paste it, it's going to strip out any custom fonts that are used. So I'm just going to quickly install those fonts. Okay, and we'll hit publish and head back into our designer. Okay, so now what we basically do is just connect the app. So we'll head back into Figma. All right, once you're here, we'll hit connect the account. It'll open this up. We'll just choose all of them, hit go, and it's successfully linked. Close that tab. Now we're given this particular UI, and you can see we've got navigation, hero, template. So these are our layouts, and these allow us to quickly use these things. These are fully responsive, so if you keep them the way they are, they're going to come across perfectly. However, we're probably not going to use them heavily. The navigation one's quite useful, but again, as soon as you start mixing things around, it's going to break. tweak, and that's where you need to tweak it once you get back into Webflow. The structure stuff is really useful, and so what you would do is you would add a new page, and you can see all of them are using auto layout, and that's going to be your best friend. We can then just add sections and whatnot to it and keep building. Now you can change this names here, so whatever you call that, it's going to come across as the class. And if we were to add in, say for instance, a text block. Now, interesting enough, is anything that we call our objects, so anything we name, if we were to say this was called heading 1, it's going to convert that class with this HTML tag. Now, you can get a bit more specific, so say when something's not coming across correctly, you just double choose this particular object, hit that, and you can see it creates this naming convention where it puts it in the brackets H1 and then and it separates. So that's very useful. Okay, so CSS bloat. People are a little bit concerned about this, and yes, this particular process can create unnecessary CSS classes everywhere. But again, if you're using it in the correct way, you probably won't have much of a problem. So what you're needing to do is, if you're copying and pasting backwards and forwards, just remember to delete the CSS classes. I find a handy little tip, because sometimes if you delete all the CSS, Webflow throws a little bit of a wobbly. So if you just leave a text item there with a random class, name it whatever you will, and just don't delete that object, then do you. Now, the other thing is, if you create a button and you call it button, and you create another button and you call it button 1, but they've got the same classes, the same styles, the plugin's going to consolidate those into one class. And if you have another, say for instance, a container and a container object as well, and they're both named the same thing, but they have different styles, then it's going to create two separate classes, and it's going to append like in a 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever number is to the back of the other class. So just keep that in mind, and not a big deal. All right, so in the interest of time, I've basically gone ahead and already designed this page up, and it's quite simple really. So the nav bar logo layout is this one here that I've just dropped in, and then the homepage hero is 2 containers, so hero top and hero bottom. The hero bottom is just white, and then the hero top contains the image set to absolute, and the container with 2 column layout, which is obviously to support that. And then the gallery is just basically a 3 column layout with the gallery images applied accordingly. Right, so now that looks all good, but you can't expect a one-to-one perfect conversion every time, or copy and paste. And the main reason being is they are 2 fundamentally very different systems. So expecting it to have all the bells and whistles that Webflow has in this particular, quite simple design tool, when you boil it down to it, is just crazy. So I'm seeing a few people go, oh, well, you can't do this, and you can't overlap, and you can't do combo class, and you can't do this, and you can't use absolute positioning, and blah, blah, blah. I have to oversimplify my design. But you don't really, because I've done this in terms of using a absolute positioned image just to kind of float it out there, kind of get my design, keep my creativity, or the creativity of Midjourney, so to speak, and do it. But I just have to design with the mindset that, okay, I'm going to have to tweak some things a little bit in Webflow. But I've done 90% of the work here in terms of the way it's going to work. So I just have to adjust some of the classes when it goes into Webflow. Really not a big deal. So just design it the way you want, be kind to yourself, and realize that, if you're trying to chase down a perfect conversion or perfect copy and paste every time, you're going to waste a lot of time, my friend. So you just have to adjust your mindset and go, okay, fine, well, this is roughly going to work. This is how it's going to work in my head, and this is what's going to collapse, and this is how it's going to work responsiveness. But don't get bogged down on the fact that when you copy and paste it over, it's going to look a little bit different. And I'll show you that later on. It's really not a big deal. Okay, so let's move this over to Webflow. So we've designed a whole page. So we're just going to choose the home page. We are going to have to delete this particular container because it's going to look weird. But select it up here. We're going to go choose the right project. So we'll just click on that Figma, on that little drop down at the top here, choose the project that we want to do, copy to Webflow. We'll prepare the assets. And copy to clipboard, and now we head back over to Webflow. You've got to use Chrome. Click on our body, paste. It's going to look a bit funky. Don't panic. Just move that all out of that homepage thing. Delete that homepage. If you're copying and pasting the individual sections, it's not going to have the step. And you can see, okay, it's roughly there, but it's definitely not production ready. So we need to tweak a few things. And as I said, the couch hero, the absolute one, is going to need some work, and this gallery needs some work as well. And then also, if you are going through the stops, you're going to want to tweak some of your responsiveness. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do this because I just don't want to bore you. And you would spend more time and care doing this because it's important. Okay, so let's fix this hero first. Pretty straightforward. Just the absolute positioning is wrong and the width is going too wide. So we'll just tap that little button. We'll give it an auto, so it locks itself to the bottom. And we will just change this to 80 rem. Finished. Not hard. Okay, so, and now if we do this, you can see we've also got a little bit of responsiveness happening. Obviously, you would want to clean up some of these things. Probably have a page wrap right here, but we'll just set that to overflow hidden. Go in here and we'll just set this to relative. Okay, so it's kind of working. Looks all right. It's not going to break. It's not ideal for production because we've still got some stuff text going over here. So you would need to tweak this around a little bit more. But again, it's nothing crazy. Now let's do the grid so we can see it's definitely not doing what we want it to do. So we're just going to adjust some of these classes very quickly and yeah, we'll be good to go. So we want to use a grid. So we'll just go into our 3 columns and we will just choose grid. We'll give it an extra column. And we will just increase this one a little bit. Done. And now we just got to change these. So what we do is we'll go gallery column container. And we'll give that to each of these. Okay. And what we can then do is we'll give each of these gallery image, which we have already. So fantastic. And we'll just set these as 100%. Finished. And yeah, so there you go. Really not hard. Very easy to kind of just tweak it and go. So don't get bogged down in the applications or the copy and paste limitations because you're not writing the final code. You're not doing anything crazy with it. You're literally using it to do the heavy lifting and then tweak. But just have it in your mind how it needs to be built. Try and roughly get it there and yeah. So simple. I'm obviously doing this at a bit of a speed. I'm not sweating all the details. So, you know, as I said, there's got some overlap issues there, but tweak to your heart's content and you'll get it there much quicker. Now we want to convert this over to another platform. So this is where another awesome tool comes into play called Udesly. And Udesly allows us to pretty much click a button and export our code into a dedicated theme for one of the platforms that I outlined earlier. It's pretty straightforward. It does have a learning curve as you get more and more advanced, but there's lots of tutorials coming and lots more videos for you to explore. But the nuts and bolts of it is pretty darn simple. So let's get started. First things first, you need to install this little Chrome extension. Again, I'm going to have the links below. And then obviously what you need to do is just sign up and purchase, a plan. There is a free plan, but it does have some limitations and some things will and will not work. So if you're finding yourself butting your head and you're not sure why it's not working, probably because you're on the free plan, but it's great for like testing the waters. The links below are affiliates. So if you do click on them, it does help me out and thank you very much. But yeah, anyway, let's get going. We have the extension installed. We'll go over to here. We're literally just going to click this little button and we're going to choose Webflow to WordPress. Configure attributes. It'll spit out this little config code. Once that's finished, it'll reload the page. And what we now have to do is just download the code and we'll run it through the tool. So we'll just hit export the code, prepare a zip and download. Straightforward. All right. So now once we have those 2 files, all we need to do now is just head over to our Udesly. We'll go to the app, click on Webflow to WordPress. We'll choose the file. So it's the zip file from first. We'll go theme configuration, go to your downloads, select your file, and then just hit convert. You can upload a theme screenshot there as well. You can change all this stuff as you want. So blah, blah, blah. And we will just hit convert. Once it's spitted it out, we can just hit the download button and that's now our native theme. Now what we'll do is we'll head on over to our WordPress site. I'm just using an app called Local, which basically sets up a WordPress instance on your computer. So really handy for testing stuff. Add in the WordPress admin, go down to appearance, add new, and we'll just upload a new theme, choose a file, and that theme that we just downloaded, it should be that one. Upload, install now, and it's just going to run through an installation process. Once it's done, we will activate the theme. It's going to say, theme not work properly without Udesly app installed. Go to plugins, begin installation of the plugin, install it. Once it's done, we will return to the plugin thingy and we'll hit activate. Job done. Now, if we go and we have a look at this, it's going to start to import the data. Once it's done, we can refresh the page and there's our new page. We view it and ta-da! We're on WordPress. So damn quick. It's so easy. Now you can open your front-end editor and we can change copy and content as we would like. So we can change the images if we want. It automatically does it for you. We can tweak here. So blah, blah, blah. Very, very, very simple. Just save and you are good to go. Now, obviously, this is a very oversimplification of it, and you can get quite complicated if you want to with this overall process. Generally, it's pretty straightforward. Sometimes it's a little bit of a learning curve, and that's where my tutorials are coming into play. And we're trying to make it easier and easier and easier for people to get into the process. So yeah. check them out, and I hope you find them useful. Okay, so that's that. I hope you found it informative. If you have, please hit like, share, and subscribe. It helps me out. And if you have any questions, just ask them in the comments below. And check out the rest of the videos if you want a bit more understanding about that Udesly process. It's awesome. Catch you later. Cheers.